Right, there we go, Carlos. Here we go.
Okay. One of the questions, obviously, and everybody is interested in the issue of the left in Chile. Well, the left has a history, obviously, on the last 30 years. Remember when I said it wasn't 30 pesos, it's 30 years. 30 years of government after the dictatorship, which it was a fudge, in a way, in the 1988, when Pinochet was defeated in the plebiscite. He ran alone and he got second. Well, we said Chileans at the time. No, he arrived second on that. And it wasn't for very much, by the way. He got 45% of the vote, still. And we won 55% of the vote. So it is kind of that. If you compare that with the plebiscite now, a couple of weeks ago, which was 80% against 20%, it's a big change. It's a change, it's a kind of good change in a way. But the left, unfortunately, hasn't been that good in Chile. First, because they decided to go along with the change of government, supposedly to be democratic government, under the rule of the dictatorship, with the constitution of the dictatorship, with the militaries being still in power in positions, and with part of the Congress being populated by some appointees of the dictatorship, Pinochet, and Pinochet himself there as a senator. So that's what was our start. Along the way came the governments of the left and government of the right, but the government of the left were involved in corruption. Because in Chile, contrary to this country, we got 2 or 3 big things that make the economy of the country. We got the pensions funds, which are in private hands, thanks to Pinochet. We got the taxes, all the taxes paid by everybody and the companies, and we got the mine owners, which kind of control 70% of our economy. So anyone who wanted to do business in Chile needed to buy the people in power in the regions, in the communities, in the towns, anywhere. So the left, part of the left, fell into that. So they were corrupt. And everybody knows that in Chile at the moment. So political parties are not very well seen in Chile at the moment by the large population. Even there are some slogans saying this is not being won by the left or the right, it's won by the people, which is quite reactionary kind of thing to say, but and we are saying that actually whoever is protesting against the government and the processes in Chile is from the left. That's what's our understanding. So the left at the moment, it is have this kind of a really how you call it baggage going with, and a lot of baggage there, with the exception of some of the Communist Party and a couple of other small parties, which have never been caught in even one case of corruption. So there is kind of a some hope there from the political point of view. And we're trying to stitch up together this opposition with some of the, trying to clean up the corrupt from the true ones in the left, and trying to go with the process ahead. This is the truth. This is really difficult. I'll tell you. I'm not going to say, well, I will wait for some comment.
Okay, I think we're going to take Russell and then Alan, I think it is. I think that's perhaps the order. Russell and
is Paul
Alan Armstrong. I'm talking about Alan.
Is Paul Collins an actual participant?
Yes, he is. Yeah, no, yes, he is. Yes, I know okay. Paul. Okay, he's a Labour Party member. I know him. He's all right. Oh. Hi, Paul. It's all right. Sorry, I'm going to Russell. You're going to go next. And then let me know if anybody else wants to speak. And after Alan Armstrong will be after you.
Yeah. I'm currently in the middle of reading Eduardo Galeano's book, Open Veins of Latin America. And I've just I've just finished a part on Chile. And the thing that struck me is that the Pinochet coup against Allende wasn't the first coup. And Allende wasn't the first person to try and nationalize the copper mines and in consequence overthrown. So I want to raise that question as soon as the whatever government of whatever hue tries to nationalize tries to nationalize the copper mines, and especially under the current circumstances where the mines are well, not really under current, not especially, but the mines are privately owned, and US imperialism under the aegis of the US, as we know, will create some turbulence, to say the least. And how is that going to how is Chilean democracy and the constitution going to measure up to that challenge? Because be under no illusions, the Bolivian honeymoon is going to last only as long as the presidential election, and then it will be business as usual, which is usually an attempt to delegitimize and get rid of the government that challenges the imperial hegemon. And just the other thing I wanted to ask you about is that in Galeano's account of that period where the government was overthrown in the 19th century, overthrown when they tried to nationalize the mines, he seems to suggest that it was British capital and British interests which commanded a huge influence and interest in Chilean society and economy. So our hands in the United Kingdom are not exactly clean as regards as regards Chile. So just think of your sojourn in the United Kingdom as very much earned, and the obligation that the United Kingdom has to you and people like yourself. As I feel as a refugee from apartheid South Africa, it was the United Kingdom that fucked it up for the majority of people there. So, you know, when people say you should feel so grateful about being here, I say, no, I don't feel grateful. It's your duty, your obligation to offer me a safe haven.
Right, Carlos, do you want to come next? Alan, sorry,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
tell
yeah.
me, before that, I just want to clarify with Alan Armstrong, that is. Alan, did you want to speak at all?
Okay, there are
Okay.
three things that Chileans inherited from Britain. Yeah.
Yeah.
One was the war with Peru and Bolivia for the north of Chile. That was the first basic. Second is football. And third is trade unions. So these are the three things we got from Britain. And Britain is
and
not
the fourth one's hypocrisy.
probably, I don't know. Okay, but the next thing I had to say in this is that it is true. Britain has no, there were no the white knights or the whatever. The Antofagasta holdings, which account for probably 1/3 of Chile export in copper, is a company which is a British company. Yeah, and the copper is also priced in London. So there is a lot of kind of baggage there, and from the Britain point of view in terms of Chile. So there is a lot of things. Next week we'll be looking at some of the issues of from the mining point of view, the things that need to be changed in terms of the constitution. And the theme of the constitution is important. Salvador Allende, in his program, never put a change on the constitution in the program.
Exactly.
And that's a fact. Yeah. And that was a problem, because he should have done that. And on the 11th of September 1973, he was going to give a speech in the one of the state universities, calling for a plebiscite on that, which the military knew about that. That's why they've done the coup on that day. So obviously the issue of constitution is a primordial thing in anything in politics. So we know a little bit more on that. So we are kind of preparing for that. And that's why we need the help of everybody. We need the help of experts from every field, everywhere in the world, to help us to put a constitution that we are doing the fight in Chile. We are electing the right people. We need to elect the right people to approve the constitution. But our task is difficult. We need to get every point of the constitution passed by 2/3 majority. That's the small print put on the 14th of November when I was saying small print. You see, this is quite tough. The right need to have 1/3, 33% of the vote there, in order to not to let pass anything that could be against their interest. Our task is to get over the 2/3, and it's quite tough. That's why we need the unity in the left. There is no other choice. There is no other choice, as you can understand that. Even if we are very precious on things, we need to start talking to some of the guys who were in the pocket of the transnationals. We still need to do that. We need to tell people not to elect these bastards. Yeah, it is kind of thing. But we also need the expertise. We need the expertise of people to help us to put together a constitution where we can take account of those things. If we got a constitution, it won't be 1973 again. Yeah, because it will be different. We are building up the new constitution from the grassroots upward. This is what we want to do. And we got a lot of people in our side, obviously. We got 80% of the Chileans in our side. Some of them, within the 80% are the best minds of Chile at the moment, obviously. So this is something, I don't know if I can answer some of the questions, but this is what we got. The next 2 years, they are going to be, we have been, I mean, I've been in politics 50 years. I've been 40 years in the opposition. I mean, as a political prisoner, as a refugee, as a whatever. And we still got 2 years more to get something. So I need to get there. And I also need all of you to understand a little bit our predicament and to help us. You don't need to, we know that we got solidarity. This is not the point. We need now something else. Yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to make a little comment myself. If I could. I mean, it's kind of interesting if you think about constitutions, because the constitution is concentrated political power is in the constitution. That in this country, the Tories will overthrow the constitution as soon as they don't fetishize it. They don't believe it's some marvelous thing that can't be touched. They did it in the Curragh Mutiny, for example, and I'm sure lots of other times. They will. For them, it's just something to use and something to be dumped if it doesn't work. Yet for the Labour Party, it's the opposite. It's like the constitution is untouchable because it is the embodiment of the people almost, when it obviously isn't. It's the protection of wealth and privilege. And Allende's problem, as you just said, Allende's big problem was he refused to touch the constitution, but by doing that, he killed himself, almost literally, because if you don't touch the constitution, you can't do anything about the armed forces. And I do remember there was a case of a naval officer, a general that was appointed by Allende, I think, who was murdered just before. So they were already planning to. So there was a possible schism in the Chilean armed forces prior to the coup against Allende. And Allende helped to, if I remember, I'm racking my brain, but if I remember, Allende helped to put that down. And of course, in that sense, he also it was the point when Pinochet was getting ready in the background to actually have this coup. And so what we have to do is to, and this applies just as much here, we have to get the idea that the constitution is untouchable, it's a fetish, it's God, it's marvelous, it's wonderful, we must protect it at all costs, as a really, really dangerous idea. A constitution is just people, and people can change, and constitutions can be changed, and the people must change their constitution and make the new rules by which they're going to live by. So I think for us here, we're in the same. We're not as advanced as where Chile is, but you are down the road that we are heading down, by the way. And the left in this country is ignorant of these matters. I said less so in Scotland and Ireland, but especially in England. They're not interested in that because they think politics is purely reform. It's social reform, welfare, all very, very important. I'm not downplaying those things, but the real power is what the constitution is. And so our revolution has to be a constitutional revolution as well as a democratic one, not just patching up the constitution.
I was remembering something that Russell just mentioned before. When things were happening in Bolivia, and me and Russell were having big discussion on this. And we were looking, I think we are all leftists here in Britain, kind of discussing Bolivian thing. We are looking at the problems clearly and making the difference with Venezuela, where they have 500,000 people on arms at the moment. 500,000. It's not 50,000, 100,000, 500,000 people who can take a rifle and defend their country. Bolivia was doing nothing of that. And it was following, after 14 years, how many years he was in power, following similar paths that we have in Chile in 73. And this is what we were discussing with Russell. So Russell, this is not going anywhere. We knew that before it happens. We were looking at that. And it's not because we are pretty clever, because we got experience, we passed the experience. We don't need to be clever to know that. So I think the left need to relive the experiences all the time. We need to check, we need to learn from our experience. We shouldn't be of taking for granted certain things. We should be a little bit free. That's what I was saying at the beginning. So Chilean experience is slightly different from other experience, and you must understand us a little bit. We are not going to go the same way that a normal revolution will go. We are living in a revolution at the moment. People don't know that. We are living a revolution, but people having a kind of realize. I don't know if you're with me, but I think I'm a positive guy. I'm trying to.
Maybe the model of the normal revolution is the problem that we've got. So we've got this normal revolution, and the real world is not matching the normal revolution. So then the so-called normal revolution is screwing us up. And maybe there's a different conception of revolution that we need, not the normal revolution that everybody's trying to play ball with. You know what I mean? That's my take on it. Let's destroy the normal revolution, and that's what we got. A revolution against the normal revolution, I think.
What's that? Oh.
3 peaks.
Comrades, anybody else like to say anything? I can only see Carlos's own hand up. Is there anybody else? I can see Alan there. Anybody else just taking a call? Anybody wants to say anything at this point? Alan, okay, it'll be Alan Boylan. I think Alan Armstrong. I'm still trying to work out, Alan, if you were not. So okay. So I'll take Alan Boylan then, and then I'll take John. And I'm assuming Alan Armstrong, Alan, that you are not trying to speak at this point. Although I can't hear you because you must be muted. No, you're not muted. Okay. All right then. Let's take Alan Boylan at this point then, and go from there. Then it'll be John, and then Alan still if he wants to have a comeback. Alan Boylan.
This discussion is taking a real interesting twist. It's not going the way I thought it was going to go, but the hooks about the Constitution are really interesting and represent a real danger for the indie movement. We've got examples going back several countries where they won massive gains and then lost because they weren't writing the Constitution, or the left wasn't attacking the Constitution seriously. And I think there's huge lessons here for Rick and Emmy in the left, that you need to be flexible, you need to include the people you're trying to help. So maybe things like people's assemblies, like Carlos indicated, is a possible way of kickstarting a constitution, looking for people to get involved, like Iceland. There's big lessons to be learned the way Iceland did things, I think. And I think that might be worth revisiting for the left as a possible framework for how to change, radically a whole nation's thinking. When you think what they actually did, it was quite amazing. And I think I will be revisiting Iceland to see if there's good lessons there. But it's been a brilliant discussion. It's got me thinking, and that's no easy.
Okay, right, good stuff. Okay, now John next. John, do you want to fire on John Schumann? That is. Can we? You're muted,
Turn
John.
on your mic.
Right, okay.
That's it, we can hear you now. And we can see you this time, which is always good.
I know. Got the tooth missing.
Oh, well, we'll try not to look at that.
Right. I just want to try and repose the question I put before, which was about the fact that I don't feel that the left has adapted to the 21st century world, in the sense that we keep on getting these movements which are basically waves and waves of popular pressure, normally around single issue campaigns, and that's not the case here in Chile that we're talking about. But still, what Carlos laid before us earlier on tonight was that this was very much a leaderless movement. And I think the new question for the left, well, a new question, it should have been a question we adapted to as soon as it started happening, which was 20 years ago. But I don't think that we know how to do it. There are certainly no models in any Marxist theory that I know of for actually doing it. But when a popular movement exists, how does the left respond organizationally in a way that just doesn't piss off the movement, but offers something which is seen by the mass of people to be valuable, and in particular, this question of the military, I want to ask Carlos, is there any sign yet that there's a kind of junior officers movement which is not following the rest of the military? Are there any dissidents? Are there any members of the military at all who've been involved in this popular pressure, which has brought this 80% vote?
Before Carlos replies, I'm going to ask Paul to have, because Paul hasn't spoken, and I just say comrades, because most comrades here won't know Paul, but I met Paul through the Left Labour Alliance, and he was supporting he was joining with me in supporting a Republican resolution in the Labour Left Alliance, and that's how I came across Paul and invited him to come on. So Paul, if you want to come in with your question, fire away.
Oh, William.
It was really to get to say that I like John's last point, because you know, if you look at the people that support often the Green Party and you know, other smaller parties, they're all very or even on the Facebook groups, they're all very good on single issue campaigns. But when it comes to dealing with things like class, and as me and Steve, you know, we've had conversations about the Constitution, that's when even people on that claim to be left, they're like, oh, we can't vote for that, you know, and so John's last point really resonated with me there, and yes, that's all I want to say.
Right, thanks, Paul. Okay, thank you. In that case, back to Carlos. I'm just looking at the time now. Just saying, we've got 8 minutes to go, so we're all right.
Okay, I'll try to be brief on this. 21st century, yes. I think one of the aspects we need to look at is to kind of look at the history of people. I'm quite aware. I teach history. I teach history of architecture and design. But I always put the progressive point of view within that to my students. So I never this is something that the left need to do. We need to be on the 21st century. We are on the time of the wide web, the whatever, And I explore here in the university things of three-dimensional modeling and all that stuff. We need to be there in politics as well. We need to learn from our mistakes, because we are the guilty ones. We are the one making the mistakes, and we made the same mistake several times. I think we need to look at that. The forces against us, capitalism, neoliberalism, whatever you call it, they are really good at defending their rights and their privileges. They are class conscious by definition. And if you tell me that the right here is different from the Chile, they are similar, are exactly the same. We need to be on that, and we need to fight all the time for these things to be listened and to be discussed. People think that talking about class is a dirty war. It is not. I've seen that on the discussion about Jeremy Corbyn and all that. I mean, I have so many discussions on this. People think that we should give up. I don't know why. I mean, I haven't give up after 50 years. Why I should do it now? So we need to be a little bit modern. We shouldn't forget the basics of socialism. I'm studying even looking at the cases of utopian socialists. That is still important for us. The utopian socialists created feminism, created the 8 hours a week, a day, working a day, 8 days of, like 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, and whatever. And it was created by a socialist utopian. And we went a little bit further than that. I mean, but this is our history. We need to learn from that. We shouldn't kind of, and we need all the time put a little bit, the extra bit we can put in our own time. 21st century we need to put. That's what I'm saying. Whatever is happening in Chile is something important at the moment. It happened in 73. I'm really happy of that, because I've talked to so many people. The importance of 73 or 73 for them is so great. And probably we are doing it again that now in the 2020. But we are not the only ones. There are other people that have been going through this, and we have kind of learning from them as well. South Africa, after apartheid, even that didn't go that well, but still there are some issues there we can learn from, etc. So militaries. There are some militaries in our side. Surely there are. A few cases, not many. One military was sent in Antofagasta, in the north of Chile, was sent to on a commission to repress people in the shanty towns, and he refused to go. He left his arm or his rifle on the floor and refused to go. And there was one guy who was put in prison, and there was a big outcry in Chile, and he was released and wasn't punished in the end, but he was taken out of the army. Recently, a few days ago, a policeman was killed in southern Chile. The government accused the Mapuche Indians of killing him. Actually, the guy was Mapuche as well. And I was killed by right-wingers. his uncle said so. The first person to say the day after that he wasn't killed by the Mapuche Indian, was killed by right-wingers. He was put out of the uniform as well. And there are several cases. There are few in between. Remember, 1973, they put hundreds of militaries in jail, tortured them. Some of them were killed. The father of the president of Chile, Bachelet, was killed there as well. And from the Navy, hundreds of Navy personnel was also, they were also put in prison and tortured. Some of them killed as well. There is a little bit. The problem is we shouldn't take that at the moment. That's something, as I said, the police, the army, and it's part of the state. It's part of the state kind of serving the purpose of whoever is in power. So we shouldn't get too worked up by that. We should be aware of that, like we were not in 73, but we should go on with the changes, regardless. What Bolivia happened, they didn't do that. That's why Evo Morales was defeated.
Can I just intervene at this point, Carlos? Just to say that we're less than a minute to go. So I want to just thank you, by the way. And I think we've had a really interesting discussion. I've got comments coming on there. So I want to thank you on behalf of everybody coming and talk to us. And I hope we can carry on talking after this session is over. So I do thank you for doing this. It's been really interesting. I think all the comrades have enjoyed it. And I hope we'll be able to get the recording out of here and do something with the recording as well. Thank you, Carlos.
Very good discussion.
We're going to the end. So I'll say goodbye to comrades, and obviously there's email list if you want to contact us. Yeah. I hope
Thank you very much for inviting me anyway.
Yeah. Carlos, I'm calling you now.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to say, Paul, I hope I'll speak to you, Paul, at some point, as I keep saying I will, and I'll see you other comrades at various points.
Sure. Alan,
Steve.
Alan.
Yeah. Alan Armstrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not Alan. John.
Yes. Well, we can't hear him. Okay, Collins, I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch it off now. So you ready? Here we go.
John, did you get my email?
Right, that's it. That's the end. No more. None. Bye, comrades. Away. Good.